Welcome back. Thank you for staying with the big story. This evening we're looking at the Huduma number that was rolled out today. Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta was right at the top of that rollout this afternoon. So we have Demas Kiprono, who's a campaign manager at Amnesty International. We've been having this conversation with him since the show began, and Hannington Namba, who's a cybersecurity expert. So Kiprono, before we took the break, you were trying to explain to me why you think this Huduma number can be used to the detriment of marginalized groups. And the reason why I want you to explain this is because these are some of the issues that need to be addressed so that Kenyans, even from those marginal areas, feel comfortable. So this is for the sake of individuals who are working on this Huduma number. Maybe these are issues they can address. Kiprono.
Yes. People who are from marginalized groups are usually already criminalized or already victimized before as a precursor to getting services. They're also criminalized in another way in terms of, for example, when there's a terror attack, they are usually wholesalely held accountable for it. So that if you look at countries like the USA, where DNA can be collected for evidentiary reasons, it is usually only collected when there are reasonable grounds to collect them. In this instance, we start from a point where the government has all the DNA first, so that it really does not need that process of suspicion for it to activate acting on a person or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so those are some of the issues that are coming out of this Huduma number, maybe the concerns that need to be addressed. Let's listen into the president today. He was speaking about the security of this particular Huduma number and the concerns that are being raised about privacy. Could we listen in?
Some of you, ladies and gentlemen, have expressed concern about the National Integrated Identity Management System, primarily around the issues of privacy and possible misuse of these data. These indeed are valid concerns, but I want to assure you that we are putting in place the necessary legal safeguards to protect you, as indeed the Honorable Kawaya has said. Pole, mimi nimezoea kukuita Kawaya tu so. Currently, a bill is being drafted to address these concerns. And once passed by Parliament, the law will give you the right to obtain a copy of the particulars of your personal data in the National Integrated Identity Management System database, restrict data sharing, and ensure security of the data against unauthorized access.
Mambo, the president is talking about putting legal safeguards. From your professional perspective, what safeguards should be there to completely make sure this is tamper-proof? Can you hear me? Mambo, can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
All right, listen. So the president was talking about putting in place legal safeguards with respect to the issue of privacy. What sort of safeguards should be there from where you sit on this Huduma number, just that would give Kenyans peace of mind?
Yeah, I think the legal issue, there are several legal issues to be looked into, and they can be put in place, like in terms of what are the consequences of leaking data or access to this data, what type of personnel or organizations are allowed to have access to this data, and also actually more importantly also is what type of data need to be collected by the various agencies. So I think those need to be put in place ahead and well grounded before this can be rolled out properly.
Kiprono, so there's a bill that is being drafted to address some of the concerns that Kenyans have raised. The president alluded to that in the afternoon. If you were to contribute to this particular bill, what would you say has to be in this bill?
Well, the aspects that His Excellency has outlined are actually what is the area of concern. So that who gets access, how do they get access, do you have access yourself, and if the data is erroneous, can you have a chance to correct it? That is well and good. The problem is that we are talking about a bill. We do not know whether it is going to be passed. And yet, data is already being collected. So that is the quagmire where Kenyans find themselves in. That the cart has been put in front of the donkey, so that they are now walking back to assure us, yet the whole system was being implemented without public participation, which is fundamentally wrong. Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. So there needs to be a bill that goes through all the requisite public participations and also expertise, so that we can come up with a legal framework and technical expertise that can allow us to protect our data, because data is everything, and your privacy is paramount to your human dignity in itself. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we had the senator there saying, 90% of members of parliament do not even know what this is about. And we've seen several leaders today on the rollout of this Huduma number. Kiprono, does it concern you, the rush with which this is done? It was just announced the other day, then there was a pilot, and now it's being launched, and then I had the president today saying just ensure people are registered within 45 days. Of course, the court said there shouldn't be a barrier there shouldn't be a deadline per se. Does it worry you, that speed?
It really worries me. First of all, this is 2019. This is the year that we're supposed to have a census. It really it's really interesting how this is being rushed and rushed in such a blatant way, and somehow the government and the opposition are speaking in the same language, urging us to oblige and to acquiesce to this system. Yet our good senator has admitted that 90% don't even understand what is in that, what the system entails. These are the people who passed the law in the first place. So this really is really worrying to our democratic process, because Kenya is a constitutionally open and democratic society. This was not done openly, and it was not done in a democratic manner. And in fact, what the court has done is something very novel, because it has protected us from executive and judicial excess, which was the whole point of the new constitution, actually, so that the government and legislators do not speak down to us, they work with us. They allow us to participate in decision making.
Let me put you on the spot before I bring Mambo in. So the president said, this biometric, this Huduma number will ensure there's biometric identification of farmers with respect to the Big Four as well. It will improve accountability and transparency, reduce transaction costs for Kenyans. And then he said Kenyans will not have to carry all those cards that they usually carry in their bags. Is there anything positive you see in this Huduma number at all?
I see it as an integrated system. All integrated systems are good. And as Huntington put it, do we have legal and technical safeguards? We do not. So that something can be good, but if it is like nuclear energy, it is good. But if you do not have the technical and legal expertise to protect yourselves from exposure to radioactive material, then it is useless. Yeah. Yeah.
Mambo, let me ask you something, and this is actually coming out from social media. A good number of people are saying, if just recently the president's social media accounts were quote unquote hacked, why should we trust the Kenyan government with our personal data? And that is that's one of the main concerns that Kenyans have.
Actually, I would like to link that also with some of what the president said, and they said that they have built security around this data and more is being done. And that is okay. From the ICT point of view, from what happens in the cyberspace, there is no secure data. Data is only secure to a certain extent and only for a period of time. And here we are only talking a matter of when this is going to be breached and what it's going to be used for once it's breached. So it's good to be optimistic about protecting it, but we have several incidences that have been reported of counties who have tried to do this.
Okay, my heart just almost stopped there, number one. So you're saying there's no secure data, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when?
It's a matter of when and what the person who breaches that security and collects this data will do with it. That's what we should be looking into, which is why it would be prudent to have the minimum bare data in this system that will not be useful or as much useful to whoever would like to breach or get that data. And I'm saying that it's a matter of when, because we have cases, even in the US, as much as some of the leading nations in terms of technology and integration, they have used the social security number for identification for a long time. But there are debates around it, and several committees are looking into should they change, should they add additional number, should they allow different institutions to use different types of numbers so that you don't have one number that gives somebody access to everything about somebody. And another example is India. India already rolled out this type of thing we are doing. And I think it's called Adana. Here we are calling it Huduma Namba. And there are several reported cases of breaches that have occurred, and some of it non-intentional. For example, one oil company that was using this data for data from its customers and its suppliers, created a leakage that was exploited by hackers, and that data was exposed of several millions of people. Actually, the research on it showed that it exposed more than 5.8 million sets of data for different suppliers and customers. So it's not a question of how much security we are going to build around it. It's not a question of whether or not it will be breached. It will. The question will be how much will it have, and what it is that this person who is going to harvest this data is going to use it for.
Okay. Kiprono, what are the non-negotiables for you as we wrap up this show?
The non-negotiable is that we have a comprehensive Data Protection Act that is not only passed but operationalized, so that we have the law and also the structures and the framework to protect personal data. The second one is that the miscellaneous act, the miscellaneous law that allowed the collection of DNA and GPRS should be revised. Probably those parts should be removed, and if DNA is ever required, there should be a framework on why, a justifiable framework on why it is required. Otherwise, we cannot have a situation where the government has all our DNA data somewhere. Yeah.
All right. So, Mabu, before I bring you, let me just sample a few of the social media feedback. So, Luis Matekwa says, could the team please stop talking about DNA and GPRS, because that's matter that has already been put to rest by the courts, and clearly there's no such intention. Yes, they put it aside during the rollout of the Huduma number. Let me see if I can get more feedback. There's someone here who says that Huduma number and its entire thought is politics, and there's nothing else to it. So lots of feedback coming in on the conversation that we're having, and many people asking what this means for them as Kenyans. So, Mambo, you get the final word in this with respect to Huduma number and the way forward.
So, I think this is going to serve its own purposes. There are several advantages to it, but there also needs to be put in place caution in terms of how much do we want to collect and how much is safe to collect and store, because there's no secure system that cannot be breached. It's an unfortunate result of technology. As we are advancing, as we are getting more advantages and getting more technologically advanced, this is something that's unavoidable. Actually, I would not have any reason to say that we should not go ahead with it. We should and we must, because that's the era that we live in. But
so you're confusing me. On one end, you're saying we should go ahead with it, but then you're saying there's no secure data. It's, okay.
This is the world we live in. Accidents will happen on the road and we don't stop buying cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the era we live in. This was going to happen at one point or another. It has happened today. The question now should be, like, how fast do you want to drive on the road?
Okay.
So, and do you want to make sure we have certified drivers on the road? So it is questions like that that we now need to be addressing.
All right. That's a good place to end this conversation. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for your time on The Big Story this evening. Demaski Prono, campaign manager at Amnesty International, and Huntington Mambo, a cybersecurity expert. It was such a pleasure hosting you on The Big Story this evening. I'm Linda Ogutu. Oh, before I forget, a big thank you as well to Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja and our lead reporter, Sophia Wadura, as well.